China, Russia, and India project unity at SCO summit, but fault lines remain. News analysis. The image of friendship and solidarity between China, Russia, and India was one of the defining moments of the 2025 Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, held from August 31 to September 1 in the northern Chinese port city of Tianjin. However, analysts believe that India will likely align more closely with the West over time. It simply needs space to manage the transition. Furthermore, according to one expert, once the war in Ukraine ends or significantly de-escalates, Russia may rebalance its foreign policy by moving away from its exclusive dependence on China and toward broader multilateral engagement. Chinese leader Xi Jinping used the summit as a stage to assert China's leadership ambitions, urging SCO member states to oppose the Cold War mentality and block confrontation and acts of bullying. According to Chinese state media Xinhua, Xi positioned the SCO as a champion of true multilateralism, implicitly contrasting it with the current Western-led global order. She also announced billions in aid and infrastructure investment and emphasized that the future of the world should be decided by all countries together. Russian President Vladimir Putin echoed these sentiments, hailing the SCO as a platform for genuine multilateralism and blaming NATO expansion and a Western-backed coup in Ukraine as the root causes of the ongoing conflict. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while appearing friendly and even walking hand-in-hand with Putin into the summit venue, expressed hope for an end to the war and reaffirmed India's strategic partnership with Russia. In this apparent anti-US, anti-West context, the show of camaraderie among the three leaders has understandably raised concerns among the Western democracies. India prioritizes strategic autonomy. Shin-Ming Shi, director of the Division of National Security Research at Taiwan's Institute for National Defense and Security Research, said Modi's participation in the SCO summit should not be seen as a sign of deepening China-India ties. Since the end of the Cold War, India's core foreign policy doctrine has shifted from non-alignment to strategic autonomy, he told the Epoch Times. This approach enables New Delhi to maneuver among major powers and international groupings, maximizing national interests while maintaining flexibility. In short, if you want to understand India's foreign policy, consider this logic: it tends to lean toward whichever country or partnership offers the greatest benefit at a given time, but it never fully commits to one side, Shin explained. Hui Huyu, a commentator and contributor to the Epoch Times, noted that Modi's decision to skip the September 3 military parade in Beijing sent a clear message: he does not want to appear aligned with Beijing. India needs time for its transition. Lan Shu, a China expert and contributor to the Epoch Times, said India is fully aware that the Western Bloc offers more long-term economic benefits than what Communist China can provide. He said that India should not be criticized for adopting a flexible approach in its international relations, as it reflects both pragmatic interests and structural constraints. 11 of the world's top 15 nations in terms of GDP belong to the US-led democracy bloc. China and Russia clearly belong to the anti-Western bloc. As of now, India and Brazil are the only two that have not decided which side to take, he said. In his view, India's eventual alignment with the democracies is all but inevitable. Lan further pointed out that India's close relationship with Russia dates back to the Soviet era. India and Russia have been bound by a web of intertwined interests ever since, including deep industrial ties and personal connections among influential business families, he said. Regarding China-India relations, Lan said that India is unlikely to immediately sever ties with Communist China, in part due to historical factors, notably, the fact that a significant portion of India's supply chains still run through China. This dependency makes sudden decoupling economically risky and could threaten Modi's bid for a third term and the political future of his party. Lan also pointed out that the United States played a role in shaping this situation. For nearly 5 decades, Washington pursued a pro-China policy. It was only in 2018 that this began to change when President Trump imposed tariffs on Chinese-made solar panels. That was the first real step away from a global trade system centered around China. Just as it will take time for the United States to unwind from China-centered globalization, Lon suggested that India also needs time to complete its strategic pivot. Still, the trajectory is clear. The partnership between India and the United States, as seen in Biden and Modi's pledge to cooperate from seas to stars, is something India does not want to lose, Lon said. During Modi's state visit to the United States in June 2023, the two leaders used the phrase to highlight their commitment to expanding collaboration across maritime security, space exploration, technology, and investment. Retired Navy Captain Carl Schuster, who served as a director of operations at the U.S. Navy Pacific Command's Joint Intelligence Center, shared a similar perspective on India-China relations. "This partnership isn't solid," Schuster told the Epoch Times. "India's engagement with China and Russia is largely a response to U.S. pressure. If we ease that pressure and deepen our cooperation with India, it will, in turn, scale back its ties with China." Lon added that international media have been overly critical of India's display of unity at the SCO. "It takes time for the country to resolve complex issues," he said. "It's also not surprising that India is frustrated by the U.S. tariffs imposed over its purchase of Russian oil, especially when European countries continue to buy Russian energy as well. India simply wants to be treated fairly." Modi's government has defended its purchase of Russian oil, arguing that securing discounted energy supplies is a matter of national interest and energy security. It has also pushed back against criticism, saying India is being unfairly singled out, as several European countries and others have also continued trading with Russia. Border tensions still define China-India relations. Shin noted that unresolved border disputes have long strained China-India relations, prompting Modi to adopt a tough stance toward Beijing. In June 2020, soldiers from both sides fought with improvised weapons in the Galwan Valley, resulting in at least 20 Indian fatalities, the deadliest clash between the two countries in decades. Though subsequent negotiations have led to troop withdrawals from some areas and reduced immediate tensions, the risk of renewed confrontation remains. If another conflict breaks out, Russia may choose to remain neutral rather than side with India, Shin said. In that case, it would be countries like the United States, Japan, or Australia that would be more likely to intervene or offer support. Commentator Hui Huyu similarly said that the tensions between China and India far outweigh their shared interests, ranging from unresolved border disputes and competition over the Yarlung-Tsangpa River's water resources, to Beijing's long-standing support for Pakistan, India's arch-rival. These factors make it unlikely for India to draw closer to the Chinese Communist Party. Shin noted that India would likely welcome a scenario in which the United States could shift more of its focus toward countering China. Russia may feel the same, he added, suggesting that while India sees China as a strategic threat, Russia would benefit from Washington diverting attention away from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Post-war Russia. While Modi kept a measured distance, Putin appeared most visibly aligned with Xi's agenda, at least on the surface. Sun Quaxiong, a professor of international affairs and business at Nanhua University in Taiwan, believes that Russia's long-term foreign policy could shift after the Ukraine war de-escalates. If Russia achieves some form of partial economic reconnection with Europe, Moscow will be incentivized to reduce its single dependency on China. In that case, the Russia-China relationship may shift from unlimited cooperation to a more pragmatic partnership with defined boundaries, Sun said. Shin noted that Russia has historically distrusted China in defense cooperation, pointing out that India often receives better military technology. This is because Russia knows India won't reverse engineer the systems. China, on the other hand, has a long record of doing so, he said. However, Schuster believes that as long as Putin remains in power, Russia's foreign policy will remain rigid, even after the war. Wooing Russia away from China is a laudable but impossible goal while Putin is in power, he said. Any U.S. effort to do so would require abandoning Ukraine, which would fracture America's alliances. Our partners in Europe might then consider turning to China to balance against Russia, and China would exploit that. Gu Xiaohua and Jenny Li contributed to this report.